and girls, and I was privileged to be part of the processes throughout both online and physically in Mutare as well. And I'm really, really impressed by Mutare indeed. And I would love to see a boy or girl from Mutare traveling to Sweden, because that is the voices that are very powerful. And I agree that they were more articulate, I think more articulate than most of us. But I just have had an opportunity to also come here and say, Stockholm +50 presents us with a chance at a global stock tech to reflect on the need for transforming our relationship with nature. It presents an opportunity to recognize the urgency of action in an inclusive and fair way to achieve socio-economic systems that deliver a healthy planet, prosperity, dignity for all. I'll say dignity for all. This is according to leadership dialogues that are ongoing as part of Stockholm +50. So what is a healthy environment or planet for women? The national stakeholder consultations the embassy, the UNDP, and the ministry carried out had women and girls speak out. They called for their meaningful, effective engagement and participation in environment governance issues. That is, opportunities not only to be seen as victims, as leaders, rather, for opportunities not only to be seen as victims, but also as leaders in coming up with solutions for their environment and communities. Their voices should determine projects that work for their communities in mitigating environmental and climate change initiatives. Climate environment crisis in Zimbabwe has shown that women and girls are the most affected. Gendered responses ought to be engaged in responses to crisis. Funding should be also availed too. Girls and young women painted the gloomy picture I think you saw in the film earlier. Girls and women painted a gloomy picture of practicalities of negative impact of climate change and environment during the menstruation. When thinking of environmental issues, it is critical to imagine the practicalities of women and girls. That's why they have to be part of leadership. So in Mutare, one girl painted it so well that imagine a scorchy hot day where it's very hot. And as a girl, I'm also grappling with a very painful menstrual cycle issue where I'm traveling for 5 kilometers to school or back, or as a mother, I'm carrying a child, I'm going through that. I felt like that was very powerful, a way of the practicalities of how women grapple with a climate environment when it's very hot and you're dealing with your menses and you have to travel, whether to go fetch firewood or whatever it is. The intersectionalities of environment degradation, climate change, flooding, drought, and the gendered rural poverty cannot be overemphasized. The energy poverty confronts women and girls who are burdened with cooking for the family, who not only end up causing land degradation through cutting down trees for firewood, but are in urgent need of projects such as smart energy, biogas, that TaLI Life International is constructing in Horungwe district for young women who will each be able to enjoy the technology in their own rural homes by providing with gas cylinders, as they will get their gas from their communities, biogas digesters in communities such as Bravo Village in Horungwe, courtesy of the GEF funding under also the UNDP small funds. Time is now for the world to begin at home to engage in rapid smart technologies that ease the burden of women from difficulty of getting water from far by installing solar panels, by installing solar-based boreholes in rural communities, while also relieving the environment at the same time, promoting nutrition gardens and economic empowerment projects such as piggery that does the dual role of providing biogas waste for clean energy generation. For centuries, women have been treated as second-class citizens of the environment and climate we talk about here. The field and the land that make up significant part of this issue, women do not own any of it. They are tilling the land for others. It is high time Zimbabwe changed the laws for land ownership as well for women, along with ownership of natural resources. We often say Zimbabwe has progressive laws to advance rights, but when it comes to laws that protect the environment and climate, they are largely meant for men. Women are not included. Their issues are not incorporated. It is therefore urgent that a holistic assessment of laws that pertain climate and environment be reviewed and updated to reflect inclusivity and dignity for all, especially women and girls. Thank you.